Let's do this.
Hustle culture. Why do we want to be perceived as the never-ending working person? Let's talk about it. So, I think people like us were probably raised with that mindset that, company loyalty, you get a job, you stay there, and you work as hard as you can, and, whatever they said was, boss said jump, you said how high, that kind of mindset. And why don't we see that kind of activity today? And which way is the correct way? What would you say?
I'm not trying to get sexist here, so please, ladies, back off. I know what I was told when I was growing up. My mother made it clear to me that I am a man and I'm going to have to work. Whether she knew at that time that I was gay or whatever.
Oh, she knew.
But as men, that's what we're told.
Okay. Yeah.
We are told you have to work. My father was a truck driver for the coal mines in Penfield. And that's what he did. He went to work. It wasn't a glamorous job. It didn't pay that well.
Yeah.
And that's what men, boys, as we're growing up, are told.
Well,
you have to work.
That's
Whether
true.
you like the job or not, you have to work.
Okay. Do you think that is the correct way to live?
Yeah.
I disagree.
No.
No,
You gotta work.
You got to work. That's not what I said. I disagree that you owe your whole life, mind, body, and soul to a company like we were taught to do. I believe that you got to have balance in life. I believe that you got to know your worth, and you've got to trade that worth to your job to get paid what you need to be paid. Why am I going to do a job for you and give 100,000% when you're asking me to do the work of 3 people and paying me minimum?
Because, like we said in a podcast that we did on the other channel, for the Dream Job Dilemma, there are a lot of us that didn't take or couldn't afford to take college courses. So most of us are walking around with a high school education only.
Right.
How many corporate jobs do you think you're going to get?
I'm not talking about a corporate job. I am talking about a wage that you can live on and that you can be treated decently. I have worked for jobs where I have been treated like garbage. I have worked for jobs that I've been treated well. I have worked for jobs for little pay, and I've worked for jobs for bigger pay. But I know what I'm worth. And I'm not saying in acts of desperation, because I've had to take jobs just to keep existing. But I'm kind of like the young people. I'm selling my labor to you. I'm trading my labor for a wage. So you can't run your company, obviously, without whatever I do. So why should I take crumbs? And why should I expect crumbs from these companies?
Because of the economy. You're replaceable. You know that.
Oh,
right?
I am replaceable.
Okay.
So are they.
You don't want to follow our rules? Somebody else out there will.
That's
fine.
And
it's somebody that maybe has bills to pay.
Okay. And that's fine. I what I'm trying to say is I'm proud that the fact that these younger generation is standing up and going, not for me, buddy. No, because our grandparents did that. And maybe where I'm a little different than you is because I was raised around my great grandmother, who her husband, who her father would go out and work in a coal mine from 6 a.m. till it was too dark every day but Sunday. He died at the age of 39 from black lung. They had, barely enough to even eat and scrimp on. Her husband, my great grandfather, the same way coming up. But then someone said, these companies start saying, why are they bazillionaires or millionaires back then, and we're starving to death? And then they organized. Then they got unions going, and then people started being able to live. We got workplace protections. We got all these things that come along with fighting the good fight. My parents were union people, even though my dad was extremely conservative. Even to his dying day, always bawled me out for not working a union job, although they're not necessarily here anymore. But somewhere, the end of their generation and into ours, we just simply sit back and let them take everything that we worked hard to have. So there is no such thing as pensions anymore. There is no such thing as decent cost of living raises. There is no such thing as I can afford to take a vacation. You're lucky. And people think it's a badge of honor to fucking work with like this. And I was one of them. I used to brag to people when they'd say, oh my God, I had to work 2 days overtime this week. And I was managing a store and working 70, 80 hours a week, and thought, my chest was out here.
What are you talking about, a week? I remember it was many nights you were only supposed to be there. Let's say you went in from 8 to 4.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody called off.
You were stuck.
So you had to stay over and work until either they got ahead enough that you could come home,
mm-hmm.
or somebody was willing to come in and cover.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but it's how we are raised. We may not like it, but if you want to pay your bills, you're going to do it.
I am not negating the fact that people need to work and they need to take care of their bills. I'm not negating that. What I'm saying is they have a right to go, I'm taking a day off. I need this. Where when I was growing up and what I was taught, they asked you to work, you did it. And it's not a badge of honor. I've got terrible... Huh?
But people abuse that.
What do you mean?
People abuse that. I'm going to take today off because I need it. Oh. Well, why does she get to do it? I'm taking today off because I need it.
I'm not saying that there shouldn't be... You're misunderstanding completely everything I'm trying to say. Is what I'm saying is we are going to be stuck with these shitty jobs with no benefits and no perks because we won't take a stand against them. Because why should I give you my labor, and why should I be told this is all there is? Take it or leave it. Yes, you might have to work. You might have to take jobs like that to get by. I did in my life.
We all did.
Okay. But when I got the opportunity to go, this is here before me, and they pay better, and they give perks, why should I stay loyal to this company that has done nothing but fuck me?
Well, that's sort of the job.
You know what I'm saying?
Like the job you're in now. See, like I said, when you worked as a manager at that store, you didn't have weekends.
Not very often.
You weren't home on time to eat dinner or anything.
No.
And now you've seen the chance, and you took that chance to go into a different career.
Mm-hmm.
And you have weekends off now. You're home. God willing, unless somebody needs help.
Right. At a normal
You're
time.
home at a normal time to eat supper and everything.
Right.
I mean, it's understandable if you have a person who needs help discussing whether to put their loved one on hospice.
Right. Right.
It's understandable.
And I will give, and I have always given 150% on any job I've done. I've always went above and beyond. I still do now.
Because that's what we're taught.
Well, and that's just, but if the company started getting like a little crazy, like you have to have this in many admissions or whatever, they'll still get 100% while I'm on the clock, but I ain't going to kill myself. There's a difference. If you want respect, it's got to flow both ways. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. So, why should, and really anybody's ever had a job and was a good worker, the good workers are the ones that get punished. If you do it well, you're not going to do just your job. You're going to do somebody else's. That's the way it's always been. And why should I have to do the extra work without an extra increase in pay?
Well, there's probably been 4 places that I ever worked that I didn't maybe see eye to eye with a lot of my bosses.
Yeah.
And moved on to a different
Absolutely.
job.
Yes.
But for the most part, almost every job I've ever had, and I know I can be called suck ass, whatever. I don't give a damn. I got along good with a lot of my bosses.
Well, that's good.
I got along great with a lot
and
of
that's
my bosses.
good. That's good. But there are some companies that will absolutely work you to death. Just like I popped into a little place yesterday, grab a bite to eat. Okay. And there was 2 people running the whole restaurant. And they go, wow, it's fast food. That's, blah, blah, blah. Why should they have to kill themselves to do that? Why do they have to? Why? And these companies aren't enticing people in by saying, let's raise this wage a little more, or let's have some kind of perk to make them happy. When staff calls off, companies love it because it goes to their bottom line profit. They don't care, but you'll have to do the work of this person and this person. And I'm sorry, then they should at least offer you something. They should say, you know what, you did this, let's bump it up. I have ran many times in my career 2 stores and have went on for 6 or 8 or 9 months doing that because I thought, oh, I'm a good worker. See this here? I'm American, and I believe in hard work. I was a sucker. I was a fucking sucker because they got labor-free work in one of those stores. They didn't make me a champion. And if I would have slowed down the least little bit, they'd have fired me. This is what I'm trying to say. Why should we give our souls to these companies that don't even care about us? At the end of the day, you are replaceable. They want you, used to be a 2 weeks notice. Most companies want a month's notice now to quit. I'll give you they call here, I'll give you a bad review. Nobody calls for that stuff anymore anyway. And I'm sorry, if you had the ability to fire me, which I agree if you've done something horrific. I agree. But if you're just like, hey, slacking around and stuff, why can't they courteously say, look, at the end of 2 weeks, we're going to let you go? Most people would quit anyway, but at least, everybody just clutch their pearls right there because, really? And why should I kill myself and come home tired, so exhausted that I fall into bed and go to sleep and, do all this extra work or whatever for nothing?
Well, let's touch on that one part of that you were talking about. How, which I even think is a little silly, that it's out of courtesy. They wanted a 2 weeks notice or as you're saying now, a month in some jobs. My feeling on it is, and I can say this because I'm on disability now, so I don't care who's going to hire me or fire me anyhow. But my feeling on it is this: if I'm leaving a job because I don't like it here,
Mm-hmm.
do you think I'm going to stick it out another 2 weeks or a month just so you can find somebody else? To hell with that. If I'm not happy here, I'm gone.
Yeah, I mean, I will work a notice because at this point it's going to be selfish because I need income coming in until I go to my job. Now, depending, like if I work for
He's not going anywhere. He still has a job.
okay,
He's not leaving.
can I finish? If I worked, say, for a small business and they treated me well, and you know, I felt very appreciated there, but I know they don't have the capacity to pay me my worth, and I go on to something else, I'm definitely working a notice if the respect is mutual. And I've always worked a notice. I've always have, just because I was taught to. But I'm not exactly all that upset when people walk off jobs because I know how they can be treated because they treat us all that way. Some companies are better than others, but if I'm getting if and I've seen, I mean, like if I'm doing all this crazy extra work because this one's calling off and this one's calling off, if you would even just say give a couple extra dollars an hour, people would appreciate that. But they don't care. And they don't care if you're a great worker because, yeah, it may take them 5 or 6 people down the line, but they'll get someone stupid enough to go, I'm American and I've got to work 90 hours a week, because that's how they're brainwashed to think. And, oh, I'm only getting paid minimum wage, but if you pay me more, then companies will lay off, and all that bullshit.
I worked for a packaging plant for Sylvania, and we didn't have anybody call off. Usually everybody showed up for work. Every Sunday or every summer, Sylvania would just shut down.
Yeah.
Whether they were doing inventory or whatever, I don't know.
Yeah.
But they would always shut down. And what happened to us?
Laid off.
Even though we didn't work directly in Sylvania, we worked for a separate factory that did packaging.
You probably got laid off.
We got laid off every summer.
Yeah.
So it isn't going to matter whether you have 20 people calling off, 2 people calling off. Nobody calls off. If a head company closes down and that limits the work coming to you, you're going to get laid off.
Well, yeah.
You're going to get laid off.
Yeah. Did they treat you bad, though? Or was you treated good, or?
You had no weekends. Any of the times that you were working?
7 days a week?
And because there was me and another guy that packaged, we were the ones that anytime those lines were running, worked.
Yeah. And, I mean, but then that's a choice I think you take, when you go into that job. But what I'm saying is we don't owe blind loyalty to a company. You don't. They will replace you just like that. I have been a manager and I've done it because you just have to keep things going. Like I had a wonderful worker die in her sleep. And, you methodically just go through and call HR and say, I need a job posting for such and such. I mean, they ain't even cold yet. You will be replaced. It doesn't matter. They don't like you. The days of having the, the real company appreciation. Not that any company's ever fully 100% appreciated people, but at least when I was younger, you had like the company banquets and you had the anniversary years and so on and so forth. I mean, yes, you might get a pizza here and there every now and then, but companies were profitable when I started working, and they had perks for people. You had paid vacation days and extra holidays and overtime and just all these kinds of things that were available, and enough staff to help. The perks started going away. The pensions went away. The vacations. I mean, we get 3 weeks off a year and we think, woohoo! That's idiotic. It's idiotic. So, yes, I believe that, I like my company. I think my company treats us well. That can change on a dime. That's because I've been in other companies I've liked. What I'm saying is, and I will go above and beyond for my job because I feel I'm respected there. But I've been on jobs where I wasn't. And why should I give you my whole life, body, and soul? Because you're going to get rid of me like that if the need was there, and not bat an eye.
But, and probably the point to take away from this is this. If you are not happy where you are because you don't feel you're appreciated, which we can go a little further there. Before you go jumping and leaving that job, make sure at least you have something to go
Whoa,
to.
I would agree. And I'm not saying that, all companies are bad. What I'm saying is, don't feel guilty for having a life outside of your job. Your job should not be your identity.
Right.
It should never be. And you should never feel guilty about taking time off. You should never feel guilty about taking your PTO. See, I was one of these nuts that would be like, I don't use all my PTO because I ain't afraid of hard work, and okay. That was wrapped up in my rural hillbilly mind around here, but really, what did it benefit me?
But can we get a little more into what you're saying, or at least what I take it you're saying, before some of these people listening or viewing this take you're saying, well, I'm just going to have to leave my job because they don't appreciate me. Okay. Before you do that, so let's say you do that, you leave and you do go to another job that you have set up. And they have the same problem with you that the other job had.
Well, then maybe it's you.
Exactly. Maybe it is you. Maybe you need to change your way of thinking and your work ethics.
Well, I'm not even saying it's about people that hate their jobs. What I'm saying is,
but a lot of people aren't going to take it.
hustle all the time. We move all the time, and we wrap our identities up in our job, and that's no way to live. I mean, it really is no way to live. You've got to have balance. And if you have a crappy job, if they're paying you crappy, you have every right to go look for your worth. You're trading your labor. You're trading 8 hours of your time that you will never get back. That should be worth something. Your skill set should be worth something. And yes, you go, well, that's not the way the world works. That's because this is what we accept. This is what we accept. How do we change it? That's another conversation. Drop a comment below on how we can change it.
Let's even get away from the whole corporate malarkey of it all. And let's take a look at some of the people that don't really get paid for the job they do. I see what you're saying with the hustle and everything. But let's take a look at housewives. They don't get paid.
No.
They can't just walk away from their job because
That's
Susie has ballet practice.
okay, but that's
Jimmy
separate.
has soccer.
That's a separate issue.
No, it ain't.
Yes,
It's
it
the same
is.
thing.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Because she's investing in her children. She's investing in her home.
When is she
And
going to get
she-
time for herself?
Well, it's a different issue. What I'm saying is when you are with a company that pays you less than what you can offer or what you deserve, and you find something over here that's willing to pay you your worth, you should never feel guilty about going to this place. Understand the grass sometimes isn't always greener. Do your due diligence and find out about that company. But what I'm saying is we should not be settling for $7.25, $10.25. I mean, you know, I make a pretty good living, and we struggle sometimes. All right. And we've talked about different things. When I was a retail manager, I left and went to companies that gave me less hours and more money for my skill set. That's the thing. You should never have to work like a fucking animal to put food on the table. And I know you shouldn't have to. You shouldn't have to do that. You should be able, though, at least to go, I feel I'm worth this much, and I'm going to look for that job. I'm going to look for that career, and I'm going to get that because I'm worth that. And you should never feel guilty about some company that would just poof, you're gone, because you are just a dollar sign to those people. You are. And whether you're running a store, whether you're a salesman, whether you're a nurse, whether you're the janitor, when they feel that you aren't bringing the worth that they know you can bring, out the door you go. So you should say, my labor is worth this, and go to where you can find it. If I decided to stay where I was, we wouldn't have the life we have now. I knew my worth.
Right.
It's not always easy, and not everybody has those same advantages. I get it. But you should always try to seek to make it better. And if we demand change and set the expectation, I mean, and that's again a different topic, you know, how do we get the change that we're asking for? But we should have expectations, and we should demand them. We fight the wrong battles in this country. We fight over stupid shit. And, you know, like our grandparents, they got up and they stood up and they said, enough is enough. This is why we fought for the rights that we have in the work world. And slowly they're just going away. And we're convinced and we're brainwashed to think that we shouldn't ask for this stuff. They're doing us a favor. Okay? It's an exchange. I'm giving you labor, you're giving me money. And they want a certain worth of profits. We need a certain worth of income to do it. And I don't care what you say. I've worked every job from flipping burgers to, you know, sales and everything in between. I've swept floors. I've worked in warehouses. I've done it all. And you kill yourself and struggle and struggle and struggle. Why is that normal? Why do we want to normalize that?
Would you say being a nurse's aide is an easy or a hard
I think
job?
it's hard. I've done it.
Okay. When I was a hospice aide, I was bringing home $16.85 an hour.
Which is terribly underpaid.
Exactly. When you consider you got people working the checkouts at McDonald's that are making $1 less or more than me, just to stand there
Wow.
and push a picture on a cash
Well,
register.
number one, you don't just do that. And anybody who works in retail, we know that that's not just what you do. But if I was
they're not
if
watching 20 patients
if I was a
either.
nurse's aide and I looked at them and they're making the same amount of money, I would talk to that cashier. And if it's easier than what I'm doing now, guess where I'm going? I'm gonna be a cashier. Plus, those cashiers more than likely are stocking shelves and unloading trucks and everything else.
And so do nurses' aides.
Okay, I understand that. I understand that. And anytime you're taking care of a human being, you should be paid way above what you're being paid.
I'm right.
That's just number one, because I used to think the same things. And if you're taking care of, I want the best people taking care of my parents, my grandparents, my aunts, my uncles. I want them paid enough to want to show up to their job. And I work in healthcare. The profits are ridiculous. There is no reason that anybody in healthcare isn't paid a little better. Oh my God, the stock market, we work for our shareholders. Fuck the shareholders. You work for your family. And that's the whole problem, is we got this mindset that if they don't make $1 bazillion, that we're not going to have jobs. Okay? I used to believe that nonsense too. And every year, as I was a retail manager, as technology grew, they just pulled people out of the field. And, well, we made your job easier. But then I picked up 4 jobs. So, and I knew what my store made. I knew what the company made. Because they brag about it. They'd have parties at corporate and send us pictures of the shareholders having this big deal and whatever. And we're down here doing all the work, and you're lucky you got a pizza. That's where I'm talking. There should never be that much of a gap between the bazillionaire corporate people and the people that actually do the grunt work. And if you're not mad at it, you're silly, because it's exactly why our grandparents, or my grandparents, great grandparents, stood up and said, we're not getting the coal out of these mines. We're standing here not doing shit until we get our fair share. And guess what? When the whole industry stood at a standstill, they listened. You want people to listen? Hit them where the profit is. All right, we got to wrap this up. So I'll let you close it out. I guess.
And I've got to put up with him for the rest of the night.
For the rest of your life.
Oh, Christ. On that note, everyone, thank you for tuning in. Don't just go quitting your jobs, please.
I don't think anybody took that away from
Think
me.
a little bit more before you just go up and leaving a job. But don't limit your self-worth or your family's self-worth. Always make time for yourself and for your family.
Absolutely.
And especially you housewives, don't listen to him.
Listen to me. Listen to me,
listen
especially
to
you.
You housewives have it hard, believe me.
They do have it hard. When did I say they didn't have it hard?
Since I've been off and on disability, I'm not running the kids to soccer and all
But
this.
he runs the dog.
But
the dog is our child.
Yeah,
and he does have home cooked
I do make
meals.
sure the dog has playtime and everything, but I do have to make sure meals are cooked and everything. So,
but don't let him fool you, because the alternative is I would cook, and he knows better. So
I'm not eating bologna sandwiches for the rest of my life. I'm serious.
All right, we got to wrap this up.
Thank you for tuning in. Join us next time. Have a great day.